these countries say, what the hell do we want U.S. treasuries for in a country that can sanction us and confiscate us, a country that if we don't align ideologically, they'll cut us off, in a country that's inflating away their currency and destabilizing their bond market? Screw it. Sell them slowly, not too fast to cut off your nose to spite your face. And instead of reinvesting them in treasuries, even though they're making 5%, buy gold, buy silver. Silver was up 10% last week. Gold was up 4% last week. So in terms of performance, in terms of counterparty liability, inflation risk, default risk, you name it, gold is now replacing, I believe, slowly, the treasury. So you have a chipping away of the settlement status and a chipping away of the reserve status. Even if they don't issue a common settlement currency, which ultimately they will, it's happening right now, right in front of us. And the Western media is pathetic. They don't tell us what's really happening. And all of the people we love and care about, mom and dad and best buddy John and sister, whoever, they don't see it coming. And they're going to get run over by it when it happens. And that little by little by little by little, it's been happening for 3 years, 4 years. That all at once hasn't happened yet, but it'll happen on a Sunday night, Monday morning, and you will wake up to a whole new reality. Just this morning in China, right? Silver opened up 7% and triggered limit stops. It opened today 7% higher in China, triggered limit stops, gold up 3%. And silver is priced right now $3 an ounce higher in Shanghai. They are doing all they can to accumulate everything commodity-wise that's not nailed down. Not many people know that China bought the LME, the London Metals Exchange, a few years ago. That's different than the LBMA, which is primarily precious metals. The LME is base metals. So they're not just buying, and other commodities, they are not just buying gold and silver. They're buying all the copper, the zinc, the lead, the nickel, the soybeans, the wheat, the corn. They're buying everything they can. They are now buying from Brazil, who is the second largest exporter of corn in the world. They're buying soybeans and corn from them, paying for it in yuan, which is immediately convertible on the Shanghai Gold Exchange and deliverable into gold kilo bars immediately. So these countries like Iran is sidestepping sanctions by selling their oil to China for yuan and converting it into gold like that. And this transition is not being noticed or talked about. Instead, everyone in this country is fixated on things like NVIDIA and the rise of Bitcoin. And I'm not a Bitcoin basher. I think they don't have to be mutually exclusive of one another at all. But what I am saying is that all of that attention into the parabolic rise and of profit, greed, is ignoring the slow and steady and methodical rise of gold and silver. And people are missing this because the biggest money in the world, the central banks, what do they all own? It's not Bitcoin, it's gold and it's silver. And in the end, the commodities matter. And I think that's what people, I hope, will take away from this interview. Platinum has a very interesting argument that could be made for it. Platinum is shorted very heavily in the futures market and has created a distortion. Platinum is, 30, 40, 50 times more rare than gold. But I do believe, I don't think it's probably even mentioned once in the Bible. And I'm not bringing religion into this, but simply saying that for 5,000 years, the world has looked at gold and silver as wealth. Platinum and palladium are indeed precious metals and are indeed an investment and indeed, I was just in Amsterdam and got a tattoo. So they're not forgotten. There's palladium and there's platinum right there. I've never had a tattoo before. I partied a little too hard in Amsterdam and that was the result of it, but I digress.
Awesome.
Anyways, enough to where I believe in them to put a tattoo on my arm. But I will tell you this, that I've been accumulating every 2 weeks for 34 years. And I probably, of my assets, I have 1 ounce of palladium. I know that. And I have maybe 3-4% of all of my holdings in platinum. If that tells you anything, to me, they are not wealth, they're investments. And where the world is going, I think it's more about return of your money rather than return on your money. And I just have a feeling that gold and silver will be the two places to go. Platinum and palladium, sure, you could put some money into it, and platinum would be my choice over palladium. But I think that this is more about wealth preservation. And when I look at what the central banks are doing, they're buying gold and silver. I don't see much of them buying platinum and palladium. The other argument for it is that the majority of platinum and palladium will be mined primarily in Russia, a little bit in South Africa. Oh yeah, they're two of the BRICS countries, aren't they? All the rare earth metals, where are they mined? Oh yeah, that's the Eurasian continent. And we talk about how we are going to be reliant on all of the BRICS nations and these countries for the things that we need to run the system. We haven't thought that far ahead yet, but the bottom line is that, platinum and palladium would be a distant third and fourth in my personal view in a holdings of a portfolio. Canada is very rich in natural resources. The Golden Triangle up in British Columbia, and Canada has a tremendous amount of in-ground. It's ironic they've sold all their gold, but they have a lot of it in the ground. And there are, there's mining done in the United States in Nevada and whatnot. And there's a company called Stillwater Mining. They're a US-based company, I believe, and they mine platinum. So yeah, some of it comes from North America. And, but the majority, like if you look at silver production, most of it is Mexico and Peru. And you look at platinum and palladium, South Africa and Russia, and gold, South Africa, Canada, some of the US. So I would say that yes, there is definitely gold and silver to be mined and platinum, palladium in the United States, but the majority would be found elsewhere. There's 20 ounces of gold right there.
Oh, wow. Nice.
If you're in that's $44,000 each coin,
Really?
1 ounce gold American Eagle. We send it right to your door. Silver comes in tubes like this. Tube of Silver Eagles. Open it up and Silver Eagles. There you go, right there. So, it's an asset that is not simultaneously someone else's liability. So with that being said, if you have the ability to take possession of it and not utilize storage, do it. I believe we have the best storage program in the industry. I believe we are the envy of the storage industry. We have worldwide exclusives with Brinks that no one else has. We have vaults all around North America, in Canada and the United States. But I make a little bit of money when people store in our program, but I would tell everyone, if you have the ability to take possession, you should do so. And, if this is a tube of 20 gold Eagles representing over 40 grand, you got two of them in your hands here, you got $90,000, you're running to your car. Point of it is that it's very transportable. Now, the difference is $90,000 worth of this in silver terms would be about 160 pounds. So when you talk about the difference, the one drawback to silver is logistics. If you can get by that, great. So, like the silver, this is a box of Silver Eagles. I took one of the tubes out. See that?
Yeah.
This is 42 pounds. That's minus the tube I just took out. That's 500 ounces. So 500 ounces is about $15,000 or this in gold. So the logistics, now the potential is better than anything, but the logistics make it tough. So you throw the logistics out of the equation, silver is the investment of a generation. But in the end, when the music stops, you probably want to be in gold. Why? Because it's the only other tier 1 reserve asset in the world, according to the Bank of International Settlements. And the central banks are proving that to be true. So yes, if you have the ability to take possession, do it. Just keep your mouth shut. Don't tell anyone about it. And, great. There you go. I think that's the way to do it. You have to understand that in a world where information disseminates as rapidly as it does, the powers that be misdirect through rhetoric, through price. Price is probably the greatest tool of misdirection, in my opinion, because people don't look under the hood. And this is exactly why, as the Western paper price has not reflected the demand in central bank acquisition, and they've been draining the exchanges dry, why they're now turning up the heat in China and raising the price by 10% over the Western price in silver and a little less in gold to misdirect once again. They want to very quietly accumulate without causing too much attention. And I think it's a very valuable lesson to understand that misdirection is all around us. And it's kind of the old theme of trust your gut. Don't go through life saying, damn it, I knew I should have done that. I didn't listen. I knew it. Your first reaction is typically the right one. And yet we don't listen to our inner voice, and we're all blessed with good intuition. But in a world as crazy as it is, and we're all so busy and trying to make ends meet and whatnot, we don't listen to ourselves enough. And so to me, your gut is your best financial advisor. And even when you're feeling misdirected, and many of the things that I've done in my life, including the last 4 years worth of podcasts, when I was out there screaming this stuff and everyone thought I was crazy, I trusted my gut and I went out on a limb and said, no, this is what's happening. And I was proven right. And you know what? It's a lot sweeter when that happens. And if I was wrong, then I was wrong. And I don't have anyone to blame but myself. And I would say use that in terms of your finances. You know, we're all accountable for our decisions from the time we're little kids. You pull your sister's hair, you get in big trouble. You know, you cheat on your girlfriend, she breaks up with you. You drive drunk. Hopefully the worst thing that happens, you make it home safe and get in trouble by your parents or your wife or whatever, but not kill someone or end up in jail. Everything we do, we're accountable for. You cheat on your taxes, you're going away. You name it, right? But the most important thing of managing our life's work that we spend all this time working for years and years and years, and then we take all this money and we give it to Joe Schmo or Jane Schmo, the financial advisor, who doesn't have the same vested interest in preserving that money as you do, instead of taking accountability. And I think that's kind of what I'm getting at, is that trust your gut, take accountability. The Art of War helped me understand that, helped me realize that we're being misdirected, and you have to kind of take a step back and see things for what they are. And sometimes that's a lonely existence. Sometimes that means taking accountability. But I got a lot out of that book, probably more than anything I've ever read, and it's impacted my career immeasurably.